Welcome back. We are taking a look at the Pennsylvania Senate race. Pennsylvania Senate candidate John Fetterman has been struggling during the final days of his campaign. The current Real Clear Politics average of polls shows the race is a near statistical tie, just one day before voters cast their ballots. Joining me right now is Pennsylvania Senate candidate Dr. Mehmet Oz with us this morning. Dr. Oz, it's great to see you. Thanks very much. Give us your closing arguments now, 24 hours away.
Well, Washington's getting it wrong. I think everyone appreciates that. And part of the reason is they're taking extreme positions. I bring balance to Washington. I'll work past bipartisan bickering, find solutions accordingly. But you got to have people vote in order for that to be accomplished. So the real play is go out, get 10 friends, make sure they all appreciate what you appreciate, which is our country's got lots we can do together, but only if we unite.
You know, I was really struck the other day when John Fetterman started taking shots at you and your wealth. And he says you have a hard time actually understanding what inflation is and economic issues. Here's John Fetterman. Let's watch this.
You can't fight inflation if you don't ever experience or would understand what inflation is. You have 10 gigantic mansions. You don't understand what you're up against. We have to push back against the corporate greed, and we have to push back against the price gouging.
What do you say, Oz?
Well, John Fetterman's never had a job, so I'd hardly turn it over to him. And he's been pretty radical in his positions, which is why he's going to lose the race tomorrow. Hardworking families across Pennsylvania don't identify with him because they work. They pay taxes. He wants to spend more, gave Biden a poor grade because he said he didn't spend enough, didn't align closely enough with Bernie Sanders. He said that he wants to raise taxes, which he did as mayor and tried to do as lieutenant governor, 46%, didn't pay his own taxes 67 times. He tried to crush the energy industry, oblivious to the fact that hardworking individuals are doing their best to make ends meet. He's also soft on crime, and that's a big anti-business problem. You know, in Philadelphia, where I am now, Wawa, Starbucks, other chains are leaving because they're scared. And so his positions across the board don't sync up with the values of Pennsylvanians. The reason the Fraternal Order of Police endorsed me, the reason so many groups, the Chamber of Commerce, I can go on, endorse me, is because I know I just want to let them do their jobs. John Fetterman doesn't understand that because he's never had one. So the massive momentum we're seeing with the large crowds, every single event that we do has hundreds and hundreds of people. Every night we're doing them all across the Commonwealth. By the way, DrOz.com has all my positions. If you want to support us financially, you're welcome to as well. But fundamentally, Maria, you know this. I'm a heart surgeon. I'm not a politician. And in heart surgery, we focus on big problems, and we fix them by working together, by uniting, by moving past issues. John Fetterman can't work with other people. He doesn't even like the moderates in his own party. And a radical like that in Washington will be destabilizing. When he busts the filibuster and passes laws that don't align with the values of America, it's going to be a problem, which is why Pennsylvanians are not going to let that happen.
Well, you know, I mean, you even have President Obama out there trying to attack you as well. But we know that this climate change agenda that the Democrats have been pushing through has so far hurt this economy and American families. And John Fetterman had a real problem explaining his position during your debate. Let's take a look at what he said about fracking.
You can't fight inflation if you don't ever experience or would understand what inflation is. You have 10 gigantic mansions. You don't understand what you're up against. We have to push back against the corporate greed, and we have to push back against the price gouging.
Well, we wanted to see the bite from the debate, and we'll get that up. But, Dr. Oz, I want to get your reaction to what happened with Oprah Winfrey. I was totally struck that she's wading into Pennsylvania. She lives in Chicago, right? So why is she endorsing John Fetterman in Pennsylvania when she doesn't even live in Pennsylvania?
Listen, I love Oprah, but we have different politics. In Pennsylvania, we appreciate that people are allowed to think different things because it's a purple state. My neighbors have Fetterman signs. You know, people talk to each other. They work things out. That's why leaders from Pennsylvania often bring a bipartisan approach in Washington. They move past all the small stuff and they deal with the big crises we face. When you do get that clip up, you'll see what I'm talking about. When John Fetterman says he does not support fracking, calls it a stain on Pennsylvania. When he takes shots at job creators newspapers across Pennsylvania saying he's going to send prosecutors after them. That's a chilling effect on people. That's not what we do in America. And so energy is a good example of it. It spreads across many other sectors. But in Pennsylvania, because we have so much of this beautiful energy that we can allow in manufacturing to proceed with less costs, and we can allow our nation to defend itself against adversaries and supply our allies with materials like energy that are critical to their well-being, it's the right thing for the state, it's the right thing for the nation, it's the right thing for the world. But the billboard that I can point to this morning are gas prices. They're over $4 on average across Pennsylvania now. They've shot up, 5, 6 cents in the last week. And people across Pennsylvania are seeing it going back towards $5 and are worried because they know that we don't have real solutions to the energy challenges of our nation unless we're allowed to unleash energy in Pennsylvania. It's representative of many other states. John Fetterman doesn't get that, doesn't understand it, and can't defend his own positions, harshly critical of energy, although he's pretending this month to be for it.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Oprah's show was in Chicago for many years, and she lived there briefly, but she lives in California, but it's the same point. She lives in California, she's wading into Pennsylvania, and I just wonder if she would ever put John Fetterman in charge of her company. Here's that bite from your debate with John Fetterman.
I absolutely support fracking.
There is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, "I don't support fracking at all." So how do you square the two?
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I do support fracking.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder if Oprah would have John Fetterman run her company. Why would she wade in? She just doesn't want you to win.
I don't know, but I do know one thing for sure, that John Fetterman has been unable to defend his radical positions. That's what I have run on this entire campaign, asking him to come forward and tell me why he's against fracking. You saw he couldn't do that. Why does he feel strongly that we should be soft on crime, release 1/3 of all prisoners? And his biggest goal, he said as lieutenant governor, was to end life imprisonment for felony murder. That's a bizarre desire as your main goal. I understand it might be part of what you want to do, but we have the highest homicide rate ever here in Philadelphia, and the crime is driving out businesses. It doesn't make sense. The position he takes on drugs and the border is bizarre, because he wants to legalize all drugs, wants heroin injection sites, and wants an open border with sanctuary cities so police can't defend us. That doesn't sync up with what we're desiring here in Pennsylvania, where we're top 5 in the country in fentanyl overdose rates. So my issue with John Fetterman all along is he doesn't do his job. Not only has he not worked one, but he doesn't answer questions from voters. He won't take questions from press on the campaign trail. He barely campaigns as it is, and he won't take questions from me, except that one debate I finally got him to agree to 2 weeks ago. And at that debate, you finally saw that he doesn't really have answers for his policies, because so many of them are based on 140-character tweets. They sound great in the bubble of the far-left aspects of the Democratic Party, but they don't work for our nation. Send me to Washington. Let me bring balance to a place that has too much extremism already. Let's find bipartisan solutions so our nation can be strong as it has been historically.
Let me get your take, Dr. Oz. You made your reputation initially on being a leading surgeon. You have a medical background where you've saved lives. What can you do with that background in the Senate? What do you plan to take on, given your medical background?
Well, the first thing you do as a doctor is you learn to listen, which is what I've been doing through this campaign, and I'll do it in Washington. You got to hear what people have to say. But very specifically, not only did I practice medicine, but I went to business school at Wharton, as you know, to study healthcare finance. So I want to deal with the healthcare issues. We can make healthcare affordable in America, make it accessible to all, and do it by using private sector solutions. So I'll focus on that. I spent my whole life as an educator, as a professor, and I've also chaired a large foundation that's touched the lives of 2.5 million kids. It's called Health Corps. So I want to be involved in fixing education and giving choice to parents. I especially want to unleash parochial schools, which are underutilized across Pennsylvania and much of the country, to provide affordable and high-quality education to kids with an additional element of the faith if they desire it. I also think I can help quite a bit on energy policy, because I've been a scientist, and I can study all the subtleties of what makes energy work in America. Those are 3 areas that I can point to right now, but I'll do whatever the nation desires me to do. The most important thing right now is to make sure that I'm the person in Washington trying to bring a bit of balance there, not bring more radical extreme positions with John Fetterman.
All right, we'll be watching. Dr. Oz, great to see you today. Thanks so much. Dr. Mehmet Oz joining us this morning in Pennsylvania. Thank you, sir.